I'm officially 3 weeks post-scheduled C-section with this little guy right here, and I want to share my positive C-section experience. This is my second baby. With my first son, I had a vaginal delivery, and with Layton, he was breech, and so we had to schedule our C-section. We scheduled everything for December 17th, and on the morning of, I just went to my OB's office first. We did a sonogram and confirmed that he was still breech, so then we just headed over to the hospital that afternoon. We got to the hospital 2 hours early, and I was pretty terrified, I'm not gonna lie. So they started placing my IVs, and it actually took 3 or 4 tries to get my IV in for some reason. More painful than the spinal, I think. They took me to a labor and delivery room, and we just kind of waited there for a little bit, and the nurse asked some questions. Then I walked myself back into the OR, and Jameson got to come with me for my spinal. Jameson was able to be back there with me the whole time, and whenever we got back there, I'm not gonna lie, seeing the operating room, it was so bright, it was so cold. Just being in there, it felt like Grey's Anatomy. There was people everywhere that was still just like, oh my gosh, okay, here we go. I already met with the anesthesiologist, and so whenever he got back there, we just said hello again, and then I was hunched forward with my nurse, and that's whenever they started doing the spinal. It honestly didn't hurt that bad. It just felt like a little sting in my back, and it was over so fast. As soon as they did that, they had to lay me down pretty quickly because they were like, you are about to go numb from probably the chest down. Whenever they put me onto my back, this is a little bit TMI, but I believe this is whenever they inserted my catheter, and you are just exposed for all to see. We also had a nurse or a doctor right behind me that just kind of stuck with us the whole time, in addition to my nurse. He made the whole thing so much fun. He was cracking jokes with my husband and I. He was just making everything so lighthearted, keeping me updated. At this point, I had my catheter in. The numbing was definitely starting to take effect. They had put up the blue tarp. We were able to play music over the loudspeaker in the operating room, and so we had a worship playlist that we did. Honestly, that was one of the biggest blessings because we were able to worship our whole way through the delivery. At that point, one of the things that I was not really prepared for was how numb my chest felt. So I was really having to focus on my breathing. At this point, they had checked so many times to make sure I was numb down there. I wasn't feeling anything. The only thing I could feel was pressure. Then it got to the point where they were ready to take Layton out. So whenever they pulled him out, there was a lot of pressure. And I remember there was a little bit of commotion. I just looked at the guy to my right and I was like, is everything okay? And I remember he just reached under the tarp and he just helped push Layton out, which was so crazy to me. I was just looking at him and like watching everything and just trying to stay calm and quiet. And seconds later, he was like, yeah, everything's great. He's out. I did feel the pressure. And I know that some people say that they feel like their body just like being tugged back and forth. And it wasn't that intense for me personally, but I definitely felt them trying to get him out. I don't know if he was like stuck or in a weird position, but it was definitely a little bit scary for me, but it was over so quickly. Once he was out, he was crying. They pulled the tarp down so that way I could see just the baby. He's looking at you guys. Talking about you. He did swallow a lot of amniotic fluid, so he was at